gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the hub city in Indiana. He goes by @TooSweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the Valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, Mr. OTM, Kyle Gagliardi. And as always, I am joined by my good friend, Ian Garavaglia. Ian, what's up, dog?
What's up, dog? I've got some big life stuff coming up. I got a big job interview coming up tomorrow. I'm nervous, excited, everything, but it's a big step in my life, and I'm very much ready for it. But right now, I am ready to talk some wrestling.
Yeah, and I didn't even ask about your life, so thanks for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
As you can see on the screen, I'm in a very dick mood. I was very active in the Wrestling Junkies chat earlier. And speaking of the Wrestling Junkies, we decided to bring along our good friend, Mr. Cincinnati. Sir, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm noticing in the background you both have AEW World Championships. I'm feeling a little left out here.
So does he got bling bling over there? What does he got? Oh my God, we're the trios champ.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. I just want to acknowledge
mine's got my initials on it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mine is worth about $15, plastic, very plastic, not real at all.
Well, less than that now.
Mine is the most realistic because I am a reigning and defending AEW OTM champion. Thank you very much.
That's fair.
This is true. Yeah, he is the real AEW OTM champion. So give it up for him in the chat. And speaking of the chat, we might as well acknowledge our chat because they're always out and about. Robbie Collins is in the house. He said, "Yo, Robbie, appreciate you stopping by." Of course, the Great Brown Hope from the Main Event Wrestling Network. That's like his go-to line. We out you. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love to see it. And look at that. Robbie Collins, very excited for Mr. Cincinnati. That looks good on your shoulder. I'm not going to lie. It matches the shirt, too.
I mean, yeah, because, get it right.
Soon to be champ again, by the way. Just predicting it.
Ooh,
MJF?
Spoiler alert. Yeah. We, if you guys didn't know, though, we were at All Out this past weekend, and that's really what we're going to be talking about for the most part today. But we are going to touch a little bit on Dynamite because a few things were popping large, as Ian would say. But before I get to all of our plugs, guys, we have to acknowledge that Dirk Vogus, which is a great name, by the way, said has been watching Who Killed WCW.
Well, anybody named Dirk sounds like a stand-up individual.
What a name, right? Dirk Van Fleet.
Great name. Fantastic.
Great name. What do you think, Mr. Cincinnati? 1 out of 10, Dirk's name.
That's a solid 12 out of 10 right there.
See,
couldn't agree more.
And speaking of rankings, guys, I just tried my new Dunkin' Spiked Pumpkin Spice Latte. It is fantastic.
I was worried you were going to say that. Pumpkin spiced and spiked do not need to be in the same product at all.
Ooh.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, this time of year it's a little it's an overkill with the pumpkin spice shit at this point anymore. It's like it's yeah, don't give me that Quaker in a titty bar look. Don't okay.
Please tell me you at least enjoy a good cup of coffee.
Oh yeah, I love coffee. I drink it just straight black. Some people.
Oh, you're a maniac. Oh, that's so nasty.
I think that's normal, by the way, Eric.
No.
Yeah.
To be fair, I hate the taste of coffee, like in general. I think so the one thing that ruined it for me. So I used to have this big thing of jelly beans, the Jelly Belly jelly beans, and they had this coffee thing in there. It looked exactly like the actual chocolate jelly bean. It was like a mixture of like 52 flavors. I would accidentally eat one of those, thinking it was a chocolate one, but it was coffee. Ruined it for me, and I still taste that to this day. Okay, we can begin.
No, you got me thinking now of Jelly Bellies. I used to work at Albany's Candy Factory, and then people would ask for samples. Well, we had the Harry Potter Jelly Bellies.
Oh, yeah.
Which obviously had some bad
everything's.
ones. I was the worker that would purposely give people the booger, the vomit, just to see the reactions. They would not buy it though. I don't know why. Maybe
Did
I'm
you
not
get
a good
fired?
sales rep.
Yeah, no, you do not have a career in sales, by the way.
No. Not me. Couldn't be me. Yeah, Mr. Cincinnati had to mute himself. I think he was popping large over there.
Well, no, I mostly just forgot that my button was on. So yeah, don't mind me.
Yeah, fair enough. Tino's time in the house. Me and Tino actually popped off with a main event mixer last night. We were joined by our good friend Jordan Kamer. If you want to check that out, we're talking about the NXT CW debut episode that will be happening live at the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Us three are going to be in attendance for that show. Eric, I know you guys talked a little bit about it on your show today. I'm very excited for that show. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the TNA partnership has been, and what up, Tino? It's worked out, I think, better than anybody really could have imagined how this was going to look. I mean, you know, we have seen WWE attempt these partnerships before, and they fizzle out. They really don't bring anything extra of substance to the overall product. But we're seeing a very clear benefit to both companies out of this. You know, now that it's Triple H and Shawn Michaels as well that is kind of spearheading this. I mean, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about Hammerstone making his debut on behalf of Tony D'Angelo. Took him long enough to get him on TV, but
yeah,
it's keeping people talking. I mean, Joe Hendry at this point gets carte blanche to go to the Performance Center, whatever he wants at this point. Like it's for the right people, it is the perfect job interview while still being under contract to TNA. So, I can, this relationship has really helped to build a lot of the buzz towards, this NXT on CW. I think, what I really want to see is this now going to become an officially third touring brand, or at least are they going to get out of the Performance Center a little bit more than they have? And it's probably time to start having that conversation. I mean, if we're switching to broadcast television, you're already going to get a larger audience as it is. Take that up a notch. At least start touring some convention centers and arenas around Florida that are a little bit larger than Performance Center.
Or maybe just do like the go home show in a big arena. Like that is the one show where they travel right before the PLE, do a go home there, and then they, host it at a big arena after that. Ian, you got any additional comments though about this NXT TNA partnership?
I've liked it a lot, and like you said, it's kind of like the proving grounds of those in TNA. I've heard rumors that they might be moving NXT. That is, they might be moving the Performance Center to Vegas. If those are actually true, maybe that comes with the TNA product, because technically they're getting paid by the same people. They're getting paid by the UFC people. I forgot their names.
Endeavor,
yeah. So, I mean, it really doesn't hurt either or if they start trying to create their own territory they have Florida. They have that locked down, but I think they might have reached that ceiling. Maybe a little fresh look going to Vegas, where the entertainment capital of the world, basically. Might as well go there and see what you could do there.
Yeah, that's something we talked about too last night with the Great Brown Hope is saying. He said NXT versus TNA at Survivor Series. I'm not sure if that's the route they're planning on going in, but I think it's an interesting option for sure.
It's an idea. I am on the board of bringing in NXT back to the Survivor Series, because I think it's got to this point where the main roster is so top-loaded and the NXT is just kind of like sitting down there in NXT, could obviously survive on the main roster. There's just no spot for them. There's just so much talent. Maybe you could give more leniency on NXT superstars and let them have more of that Survivor Series run. Because, back when it was the NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown, we had guys like Keith Lee, Adam Cole, all the indie darlings that were massive and so good already. They were able to hold themselves, and they had they could deal with the pressure of a PLE.
Yeah, well said. Eric, do you have any additional comments on that before we move on?
Yeah. I think rather than Survivor Series, I think Worlds Collide would probably be a better suited type of head to head. As far as NXT TNA War Games, there really hasn't. I mean, outside of the Rascals, there really hasn't been two factions from each side that it's like they can't keep their hands off of each other to warrant hitting that getting that war game stipulation. But thinking ahead to Worlds Collide, that would be a fun one. And then Deadline is right around the corner. Those Iron Survivor challenges are probably some of the best things that they do towards, especially closing out the year to kick off the next year of the wrestling calendar. That I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more involvement with TNA talent there too.
Yeah, I just love the direction we're going with that. That's enough about NXT, though. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about it, so we're here to talk about AEW for the most part. But before we do, guys, don't forget we have a lot of great merchandise available at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. All proceeds that we make from that website goes directly into the production of this podcast. And if you want to hear more of Mr. Cincinnati or other people, we have great podcasters, bloggers, YouTube content creators, meme makers. We got it all at the Main Event Wrestling Network. Make sure you're following us on all of the social media platforms at @mainevent_net. And please, if you are on YouTube, give us a search, give us a like, and subscribe, because we are on the road to 100 subscribers. It doesn't seem like much, guys, but we've only been around for a year, so I think we're doing all right, right?
We're still pumping out content. I mean, the thing about YouTube is it's a grind, and we still really have a small niche community, which obviously we'd love to expand. And the more content we have coming in, exponentially, it's going to grow. That's how that stuff works. So, if you're a content creator or want to create content or even thinking about doing it or even had the idea at some point about 5 years ago, why not try it out? You get one episode, and if you don't like it, all right, cool.
So be it. That's happened before on the network itself. So, shit happens. They say the average podcast only makes it 12 episodes. Here we are for episode 213. I think Eric and not Mr. Cincinnati, the podcast dad, are at what, 226 or something like
226,
that?
226, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like I watch your show every day. Big fan of their podcast, by the way, guys. So definitely check them out at Junkies Pod on all of the socials. But guys, I say we get into AEW All Out, which Ian and I were in attendance for. And like Temple Place said, AEW All Out was for all the sickos out there. Yes, there was. We had a couple murder attempts going on. It was a lot of fun. I never thought I would see that in person. But let's go to the match that kicked off AEW All Out, and that was between MJF and Daniel Garcia. Ian, when we talked on our preview show last week, we were all unanimous with Daniel Garcia picking up the victory here. So it was kind of shocking to see MJF get the win. Granted, it was by a roll-up, essentially. What was your feeling about all this? Because I thought it was a solid way to start off All Out.
It was good, and there was something that I remember you didn't pick up on in the arena. And Eric, I would actually like to get your input if it came across the same way on the television screen.
No.
The main way I saw Daniel Garcia get over, and I realized that moment of getting over after the match was after the match. Daniel Garcia walking through the crowd, getting the crowd back up, getting them hyped back up. That was probably their final result that they were looking for. I mean, MJF, it seems like he's on to a little bit bigger and better things. Obviously, let's wrap up this Daniel Garcia feud quickly. Wouldn't be shocked if
he's
MJF
taking some time off.
Is that true? I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think,
okay.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I mean, well, that throws a wrench into my my theory there.
Yeah,
but
sorry to burst your bubble there, buddy.
But so that makes no sense on why Daniel Garcia lost.
Exactly. That's where I'm sitting with all this.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if you heard while you're walking away there, Kyle, but I was talking about how after the match, it seemed like Daniel Garcia had gotten over just by delivering the off the rope brainbuster, whatever he did, and then really making the staple on the match afterwards, and MJF having to be basically walked and carted off. That was kind of the moment that they were looking for, but who knows, now that I see that MJF's taking time off, doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, fair enough. Mr. Cincinnati, how'd you feel about this opener at All Out?
I mean, hats off to both of these guys. I mean, this is the biggest stage that Daniel Garcia has had in a while as far as this particular opponent. MJF, who, coming back after time away, has reinvented himself once again into just this unbelievably prickish heel. Like once you think that you've seen how low he can stoop, it gets worse. And I mean that you can't teach that. You really can't teach that. Podcast that made this point on our show is we see the start-stop push for Daniel Garcia all the time. So while this program was great, we know MJF is going to be gone for a while. What are you going to do with Daniel Garcia? Now, I mean, yes, he's taken this L, which I'm not even upset that he lost this match, because if I'm Tony Khan and I just paid MJF a buck ton of money to keep him from going over to WWE, then I'm not going to have him lose 2 pay-per-views in a row. He already lost Wembley. Like, I'm not doing it again.
True.
So
Yeah.
It really shouldn't surprise anybody. So, but with the way that he has made Daniel Garcia look like $1 million going into this feud, even with the ambush attack while MJF was in the crowd on the Go Home show, Garcia got a lot of shine here.
Yeah.
I just want to see how they followed up.
I do too, and we obviously don't know officially what the status is of MJF going forward. And once again, that's all speculation from what I'm hearing. But I'm not too mad that Daniel Garcia didn't get the win. Obviously, I think they got a big plan in place for him. It was really an interesting vibe in the crowd too, because it felt like Chicago was mainly behind MJF in this one. I know it may not have came off cross on TV that way, but when I was there in person, it was pretty much 50-50, which surprised me because MJF is supposed to be the heel. I just think he's become so good, and he obviously is a former world champion, that people are going to cheer him regardless. But the match itself, I thought, was really strong. This is definitely a matchup that Daniel Garcia needed. I think this kind of puts him more into the main event scene. I wouldn't really consider him a main eventer quite yet, but if you're going to get to that level, defeating or having a match with a guy like MJF is a good start. So I would say overall, yeah, a very solid start here for AEW All Out. But this next matchup that I want to talk about, boys, was a matchup that I was hyping up myself, saying that this could be a match of the year candidate. I am proud to say this definitely was a match of the year candidate. Ian, before we get to our experience in person, because it had a different vibe when this match started, Mr. Cincinnati, I want to ask you first. Did it come off on screen like I'm portraying it to be? Like, this was an incredible 20-minute nonstop action.
So we are in the process of working on our year-end awards as far as our categories and kind of figuring out what needs to go where and reaching out to some presenters. And we've kind of come to the conclusion that we cannot put Will Ospreay matches into that AEW match of the year category. Will Ospreay will be getting his own category for our year-end awards. There's just too many of them, and it just, yeah.
I mean, just look at my list. You'll see Ospreay on there a third of the time.
Yeah, it's just there is no point to put him in there. He gets his own category this year, and this is another one of those that just happens to have made that list. Pac has, overall his AEW run has been solid. It's been kind of up and down, but the fact that he got his Wembley moment this year and then gets to go out and have a banger with Ospreay. I mean, not only that, and they're following it up by him being in this new look Blackpool Combat Club or whatever they decide that they're going to go by. It's time to strap that rocket on the Pac.
That's a win-win for Pac. I mean, obviously he didn't win this match and get that title, but he's already a trios champion, and now he's a part of what could be called the conspiracy, according to Sportskeeda. We got Temple here. He said it was reported a couple weeks ago that Moxley's new group will be Moxley, Shafir, Mercedes Martinez, Eddie Kingston when he comes back, and Sami Callihan with Shane McMahon. If that is true, there is a lot going on there, but we could talk about that another day, Ian, because I've been to a lot of wrestling shows live in the past couple of years. Rarely do you ever get a standing ovation before two men even touch. We got that there. You could tell that energy in the gym was there the entire match, and they delivered.
Yeah, it gave me reminding of it was Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega the first time they touched. Right. I think it was on a random collision. It gave me that feeling, and we knew we were about to see something special even before the entrances happened. They got into the ring, and we still that buzz And these guys have been in the ring before, just not on AEW television, but we knew it was going to be a banger, and honestly, I think they even over-delivered. We knew who was going to win. That's always when you know you had a fantastic match. It's when you know somebody's going to win. I mean, it's Ospreay from the jump. But when you can look back on it and say that it's match of the year candidate, it was incredible. And I just want to shout out too. We had Ryan Vogus come with us, and he's not a big as he calls them flippy matches, which is fair. I get it. At the start of the match, he was all right with it. By the end of the match, I could just see him going jaw to the floor. That was such a cool moment just to look at and watch. So, indie wrestling is still good on pay-per-views.
Yeah, I mean, rarely am I speechless. I was speechless numerous times in this match, and I think just the most impressive part about it is it was fast-paced, and I don't think they ever really stopped.
No.
It was just spot after spot, and there's nothing wrong with that. We knew what we were getting, and it delivered. So, yeah, kudos to both of those guys because that was absolutely incredible. But we're going to talk about Will Ospreay when we get to AEW Dynamite. But first, let's talk about a matchup that had to follow a match of the year candidate, which is a very tough ask. And Statlander and Willow, I think, delivered here, Ian. I know Vogus wasn't with us for this match, but we stayed there. We were camped out. We were enjoying it. And like I said, I think Statlander going over here was the right call.
Yeah, I was on record for saying this was one of the matches I was looking most forward to. I'm a huge fan of Statlander. I was so happy once you won the TBS title. Obviously, the injury bug hit her again, which was really tough to see, but I think she's starting to claw back, and this feud with Willow has kind of brought her to a new level of now we can understand where she's at wrestling-wise, and obviously Willow is fantastic. I think she's won over the people of AEW. She's one of the top baby faces, not just in the AEW women's roster, but I mean, it's hard to argue in women's wrestling in general. She's very over, and they showed a new side of their feud, which won a lot of people over, obviously. And to follow a match like Ospreay and Pac that's a tough ask for literally any wrestler in the world. So, and they delivered very well.
Mr. Cincinnati?
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself, Ian. It's and we saw this back in the day with Shawn Michaels. He'd go have a banger of a match, go back to the locker room, yell at everybody, now follow that. They absolutely did here, and AEW, when it comes to kind of their blow off feuds for the women's division, for whatever reason, they know how to get these right every single time. We're talking Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa. We're talking anything involving Willow. We're talking, I mean, like the street, or not the street fight, but the Texas death match we saw not so long ago. I can't remember if it was Ring of Honor or a Collision, but like for whatever reason, they just know how to show up and show out for these events and are not afraid to take these bumps. They're not allowed to let them bleed and go ahead and beat the hell out of each other the same way that we would see on the men's side of the roster. This was great. Willow is, we've already said it. She's a star. Like, she is not hurt by this loss against Chris Statlander. Mm-mm. If anything, this has raised Statlander's profile immensely because, again, injury bug certainly didn't help her, blowing out both of her knees. But, this partnership with Stokely Hathaway just works. So definitely give me more of this. What's next for these two remains to be seen. We've seen Willow go over to Ring of Honor and challenge Athena for the women's world title, but Statlander may be going for the television championship over there just because I don't see either of these two beating Mercedes or Mariah May anytime soon for these championships. I think they seem pretty locked into these title runs, at least certainly through the rest of 2024. But this would also be a way to raise the profile of Ring of Honor. And Chris and I go back and forth about this on our show all the time of, Ring of Honor could be better. Them being only on a streaming platform as far as exactly. Yeah. There are ways to incorporate the AEW roster to give it that extra something. We're seeing Raw and SmackDown. So the Bloodline showed up on NXT this week.
So cool. Has
never happened before.
Yeah.
But it gets people talking. You could do the same thing with Ring of Honor, and these are two names that could get you, that can get you talking, especially if you're putting either of them in a program with Athena. She'll do the work.
That needs to be on TV. And I like how you said that with ROH. I mean, just look at, the Outrunners this week. They are very much over. And mainly that's because of social media. I mean, just to put it bluntly, like, social media has boosted them tremendously. The video packages they're putting together, their in-ring work is good. It's solid. But it's about that character development that they had in ROH. And that paywall is huge. I know a lot of wrestling fans just say, just buy it. No.
Eric is one of those. Say, Eric,
I have
say
it.
No, that's fair. And that's just more respect to you.
$9.99 a month. So it's I just kind of, it's a cost of doing business. Ring of Honor. I pay for IWTV. Like it's just it's all part of it.
Put it on the company card.
You're investing in yourself essentially by making all those purchases.
Essentially, yes.
You're not gonna have an indie wrestler on your show every single day of the week if you're not paying $9.99 for Ring of Honor.
Very fair.
That probably is not true. Don't.
Hey. I was gonna say I'm very good about lining up guests for our show.
Yeah,
you are.
Tuesday, you got the editor from PWI coming on the show, don't you?
Yeah, Kevin McElvey will be joining us to talk about the PWI 500 this year, and just can't wait to hear about everything that goes into putting that together. I mean, I think we all take a look at it in one way or another. Shout out to all of our friends that made the list this year. I think we ended up with 13 total former guests that made the list this year. So congratulations!
Awesome.
Everybody.
Oh, that's cool to see that Temple said that Statlander and Willow was his match of the night. And that's understandable because I would probably put it top 3.
It's definitely top 3 for me, yeah.
I just want to know how Statlander's doing. She did the splits on thumbtacks.
Oh, God.
Ouch. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. That was a good, fun match, though. I really enjoyed it. So kudos to those two ladies. But this next match, I'm sure the internet absolutely loved and had nothing negative to say about it. Mercedes Moné successfully retained her title against Shida. Listen, guys, I'm not going to sit here and say this was a bad match because I don't think it was. The internet might tell you differently. Internet, here you go. It wasn't that bad. Was it the worst match on the card? Probably. But that's saying a lot because I thought it was a strong card overall, Ian. I don't know how you felt about this one. The energy in the arena was kind of dead during it, though.
I think part of the issue, yes, I agree with you. Worst on the card, probably. I mean, the thing was, there was just nothing too memorable about it. It just felt kind of like another staple title defense on TV. And that's not to put any shame. I think Shida's gotten a hell of a lot better. We've said not our praises, the opposite of a praise. Criticisms, that's it. That's a word. About Hikaru Shida. I think it's gotten to this point where the thing was, I had zero hope that Shida would end up winning at all. Like, it didn't seem right at all. And like I said with the Ospreay-Pac match, we knew who was going to win that one, but it was a fantastic match. That's the difference between Mercedes and Shida. And I think Mercedes just been built so much into a powerhouse and juggernaut that it's just like, why care? I mean, Mercedes is a heel. She's okay heel now. I'm glad they finally turned her heel, because if she was still trying to be, just imagine that. Imagine her still trying to pretend to be a face during this.
It ain't gonna work.
Oh my gosh.
/ Mercedes Moné is not a baby face.
No, and that's kind of where it happened, and there was nothing about this match that really made me remember it on the card at all.
No, and that's completely fair. I don't think really anything stood out, so to say. But Eric, I do have a question for you, because I have a theory in mind when it comes to Mercedes. I don't know if this is true or not. Once again, I'm not an insider of the wrestling business. I'm just a mark. But I'm starting to question if Mercedes was just kind of a product of the WWE system, because for some reason, something is just not connecting with Mercedes and the AEW audience. And I don't even know if that's an audience problem, them just being reluctant to, emotionally attach themselves to Mercedes since she is an outsider. Yeah. I'm just curious on what you think about this whole Mercedes and AEW situation, because to me, it really hasn't gone well for the most part.
Yeah, and the thing is, you theorized essentially the first sentence that was going to come out of my mouth when it was my turn to speak. Sasha Banks as a heel is better than Mercedes Moné as a heel. Just is. I am all for Mercedes wanting to go to AEW, especially in 2024, and kind of reclaiming the independent contractor title, reclaiming knowing your worth in this world of pro wrestling where the money is only getting larger. No problem with that. this experiment, at least in my opinion, has not really worked in the way that I think that they anticipated just yet. That being said, and I think that we podcast dad might have said this as we were doing our predictions on this. This is that break glass in case of emergency for Sheeta. If you need a contender real quick, because, again, former world champion, I think she was one like the first to 50 wins or something like this. Some other, a few other random accolades that it's like, okay, she's kind of ingrained. And if you want to name AEW quote unquote legends, 5 years into their career, I think that, Sheeta would probably be one of those names. And that's why she gets the opportunities that she does. But it's tough to get invested in Sheeta, who, again, I enjoy Sheeta's work. It's just tough to get invested when she's not on TV frequently, hasn't really had any programs outside of being just named contender for a championship. It's just, it just doesn't make it. It's hard to get people invested in that if we're not seeing her have these other great singles feuds that we've seen that AEW is capable of building for their women's division. We've just sung our praises for Willow and Statlander. Are we realistically saying that we can't find something like that to do for Sheeta? So that way, when she does go up against Mercedes Moné, it means more, because it just doesn't here.
Yeah.
And, as far as this TBS title run for Mercedes, they're just essentially telegraphing, hey, we're getting Camille ready to take the title off of you. So that's just, so you're the champion in waiting. We all kind of see that. And, I'd be willing to also go so far as to say there is a subsect of AEW fans that just simply do not want to see a WWE icon in the former Sasha Banks coming over to AEW. That may not be everybody, but there's enough people out there that definitely agree with that. And to them, I say, just chill the hell out. But this match was fine. Like, it was what it was. It certainly wasn't one of the matches that this wasn't a reason that I purchased the pay-per-view.
Correct.
Fair. Yeah, I think there was the big three that are the reasons why people were purchasing this pay-per-view. But, I mean, from top to bottom, overall, I thought it was a really good show. And a lot of that has to do with the next two matches that we're going to talk about. And let's go to that AEW World Heavyweight title match between Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry, which honestly went on a little longer than I expected it to go. That's not a complaint. That's just an observation. But I like this spot for Jack Perry. Originally, I wasn't a big fan of the TNT title not being defended on this pay-per-view, but I think this is definitely going to do a lot for him in the long run, because stepping into a ring with one of the GOATs, Bryan Danielson, is only going to take your game to the next level. And I think that's what happened here. And then what really got everybody talking, Ian, is what we saw afterwards. And I remember whispering it to you when I saw Jon Moxley. I was like, that guy's up to no good. He's going to do some shit. Don't trust Jon Moxley, as I sit here wearing my Jon Moxley t-shirt. But yeah, we see the turn. Claudio uppercuts Danielson. They put that plastic bag over Danielson's head. Just tell me a little bit how you felt about the match and what happened afterwards.
I mean, the match was what it was. I thought it was a pretty good match. It was honestly really good. I mean, but when you put Bryan Danielson, that slipped out. Bryan Danielson in the ring with anybody, which I went into this thinking it was just kind of like a bucket list, check it off the list. Bryan probably wants to wrestle Jack, get him over just a little bit, show him what he could do. And I thought he delivered. Even Jack, I thought he really delivered as well. I mean, before the crazy stuff happened with him and he was booted out of the company for a little while, we knew how good Jungle Boy was. And I think he's starting to get to that point and getting over that hump of the darkness, the CM Punk darkness that happened to him. And I think he's starting to capitalize on it. And this heel character that he's really developed and created just overseas in New Japan, it's working. It really is. And I like the tie-in with BCC. I think there's a whole lot more to tell just with BCC and the Elite. And that's not even including Danielson, or another guy that got over massively was Wheeler Yuta. Yeah. Wheeler, that reaction that he had, that was cool. Like, his
facials were great.
I felt it, which was awesome to see, and excited to see where that story goes. I think that is the biggest story in AEW right now. And they have past WWE performers mixing with AEW performers. It's a great, I'll say it, conglomeration. I know that's a team, but The faction. Yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I like the speculation that's been happening so far.
Mr. Cincinnati, what did you think of all this? Because a lot happened, not just during the match, but afterwards as well.
Yeah. So I Saturday night I was drinking and playing darts and singing karaoke. Had this on my watching this on my phone, and nobody else that I was with had any idea what the hell I was getting all up in arms about. But to have seen that uppercut, and then like not even like a normal sell of a Claudio uppercut, which let's be honest has to hurt like a motherfucker. Like. It was just it was shock, it was awe, it was like,
yeah, his face was
okay, we're
like
going there. Yeah. And just when you didn't think it could get any worse, it's the taking the bag and putting it over his head like, you know, it was Brian Griffin and owed Stewie money. Like it was one of those things that like it's one of those visuals that you just don't forget, and that's why they did it. And now, you know, they've opened themselves up to the criticism of, you know, is this too much? And it's just like discretion still lies with the parents. All right. So if you've got kids that are watching, you know, AEW, which is very clearly not WWE, and if you haven't figured that out 5 years into their run, then
or this far into the pay-per-view, by the way, too.
Yeah, when we've already seen a couple attempted murders on the card.
I like how you said that. I mean, that's the biggest backlash I've been seeing is people talking about the plastic bag. I mean, if it was really dangerous, they wouldn't be doing it on the television screen. Like
it's a gimmick bag.
It's a gimmick.
The bag is very clearly like,
yeah, it's okay. Lord. It's gonna be okay. And if you're very like disgusted by it, that's the reason you're supposed to look away. You're not supposed to watch. You're supposed to feel bad. It's gotten to this point in wrestling. We've seen so much. We've seen somebody get hung in the middle of the ring. Like that happened before. It's
Austin
got to
drop Triple H's car off of a forklift back in 2000. Hulk Hogan with the semi truck. It's not my show, so I can say his name. Into the ambulance of The Rock. We saw the Undertaker finish burying Paul Bearer alive.
Well, here's the
Vince
thing,
flew up.
Going off of what you're saying, aren't these the same people that are clamoring for the Attitude Era to come back? But God forbid they put a gimmick plastic bag over Bryan Danielson's face. That's too far. We've crossed the
Nothing
line.
gets
But
past
you
you.
could inject somebody with a fucking needle. Like what?
It's
choppy PP. Yeah. Whole of it. Yeah.
Too.
Just yeah.
And like the Great Brown Hope said, I will acknowledge that comment. Fuck the Hulk Hogan indeed. But
fuck it, a Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch what's next for that Danielson story with Moxley and crew. And also something else that we are going to touch on here in a little bit. But let's get to the highly anticipated main event, and then we can move on to Dynamite. This is the matchup that everybody was looking forward to. It was the lights out, unsanctioned steel cage match between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. Hangman obviously is the one that ends up with the victory. And like Temple said earlier, Ian, AEW's for the sickos. And we got a lot of sicko moments in this one. I'm not going to sit here and say this was the best match out of the two, because I don't think it was, because it was kind of just relying on these, you know, intense, dramatic spots. But regardless, I think the right person won. And overall, it was a good match, in my opinion.
I like how you said that. It wasn't the best match of the night, and it wasn't really supposed to be. We knew what was going to happen in this match, and it delivered. It over-delivered. We knew it was just going to be blatant. They're trying to murder each other in a safe manner. Yeah, it's unscripted violence. There you go. Another shout out. But it's supposed to be like that. That we knew that was going to happen coming into this pay-per-view. It wasn't supposed to be really good wrestling. We've already seen very good wrestling from both of them. Swerve has been holding that title for so long, delivering very great matches. And Hangman, he has good matches at times. It just depends on the opponent. And it's all about the storytelling with this one. And like you said, the right guy won. I like what they're doing with it. I'm excited to see. And Hangman, between Hangman and Swerve, I think yes for now. But they're going to be back to it. I mean, it's kind of like the Hogan, or not the Hogan. Gosh, dang it! It's kind of like the Stone Cold Rock scenario where they're always going to be there, always going to be meeting each other at some point. But the one thing I'm very excited about with it is Hangman. He's very good with playing those emotions on TV. And I'm excited to kind of see what he could do with it, because you saw that he wasn't very happy that he had to go to that length of stabbing a needle through his cheek and hit him with the chair. Those facial reactions, we saw that with Hangman before, his very good run of becoming a world champion, and with Kenny Omega. Maybe Hangman is back, hopefully fully. Yeah, that visual of his face, like he knows that he's gotten this far and he had to go and do this. So hopefully this could build Hangman back up into that main event world championship range, but who knows?
If I could chant "you sick fuck," I would, because both of them were sick fucks, and I think I probably did chant that while we were at the show. But Mr. Cincinnati, this main event, did it deliver in your opinion?
Yeah, so this definitely wasn't the best of the matches that they've had. I mean, that still goes to Full Gear, like because it was such a and they did some of the staple gun spots and things like that to remind people of what we saw, but nothing touches what we saw last November. It just doesn't. It just won't. Hangman versus Swerve is the greatest rivalry in AEW history, and it's not even close. Much like Ian said, these are guys that they don't need to do anything else with anybody for now, but they should be linked to each other for the rest of their AEW careers. You need a good program. You need something just to fill some time. I mean, I know they don't necessarily have like a WrestleMania season of sorts that we know on the calendar. They're getting people ready for this, but if you want to put this at Wembley at some point down the line in the next year, 2 or 3, do it. These are the guys that will get you a very visceral, emotional story. They have exceeded anything. I mean, and we've seen Christian talking about the deceased parents of every single opponent that he has and doing some of the best work of his career as kind of the sociopathic heel. This is just on an entirely different plane of what we're seeing there. So as far as the match overall itself, not as good as Full Gear, but I absolutely love the finish. I love the finish to get it to go to that no contest to stop it. This match made a believer of the podcast dad in Hangman Page. Never has been, but now it's never has been. But like this is a guy that for whatever reason, he's just so in tune with his character and what facial expressions he needs to deliver, especially the eyes. These aren't things that you can't teach. Some people just kind of have those eyes and they just know instinctively kind of what needs to be expressed without saying a word. Hangman Page is one of those guys. So I am hoping that this is an opportunity to rebuild Hangman Page, to put him back in the world title picture, because his first reign, the win and the moment were great. Everything else, not so great. So
all about we talked about it back then. Yeah. He's one of those chase guys that you could fully believe in, and whether that's a heel or a face, especially his heel credibility now after burning a house down, it's through the roof right now. So you could play either part with him.
Did there.
It's like
through the roof, the fire.
Oh. Yeah, I meant that.
Yeah, think like. Think about those early Stone Cold Steve Austin days where he breaks into Brian Pillman's house, just because Great Brown Hope has the shot at comment here in the chats. I mean, you need kind of these moments to set you over the top, and I mean this is one of them. I mean, it doesn't get much more sociopathic than that. So I'm excited to see what they do with Hangman Page next. It seems like a crowded world title picture right now, or at least they have plans for what they want to do for the next, let's just say 4 to 6 months with the title. But Hangman Page needs to be back in that conversation again.
And who knows, Christian Cage is in that conversation as well. We didn't even talk about it, but he teased an essential cash-in after that matchup with Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry, and that kind of got me at the edge of my seat. I'm like, are they really going to do this right here? But that obviously all led to the turn. But yeah, I agree with a lot with you guys are saying. It definitely delivered for me. I don't need to see them go at it anytime soon. I think this is a good finish, but man, the one spot that really got me wasn't even the needle spot. It was Hangman Page taking the first cinder block bump, because you just saw the scrapage on his back. Oh, it was absolutely disgusting. But overall, we're going to grade it because our other co-host, Ian, is a teacher who was unable to make it this week again. That wasn't a shot or anything. Talking to listening. It was just
Again.
an observation. Again, God, fuck you for having a family. But yeah, Ian, give me a letter grade for AEW All Out.
It was good pacing, and I think this was one of those cards that Tony Khan actually put together very well, like the actual match after match after match. I'm gonna probably go with a 92. I'll go with a 92, mainly because the Mercedes, it kind of was right in the middle, got me a little away from it, had that little sprint of okay, we're back.
So an A-.
Yeah, A-. Mr.
Cincinnati, what says you?
I'm gonna say an 89, B plus. It again, nothing that I objectively just disliked on the show or anything like that. Mercedes Sheeta definitely left a lot to be desired. Yeah, I mean that's really kind of the big one, dragging my average down for sure. Like I said, it was not a bad match by any means, but
I was just gonna say another match we didn't talk about was the Continental Classic. That one really didn't do much for me. So that's why I probably put it at a B plus. I think being there might be a little bit biased as well, because I thought the energy throughout the night was pretty solid. So the Great Brown Hope goes from ridiculing Ian for having an A- just to go down a couple numbers to a B plus.
I mean, if you're arguing about a 3-point difference, I was currently in the stadium too, so that played a little bit of a part into it.
That's what I was saying. And we might be a little biased because we were there, but Mr. Cincinnati, I know you got places to be, people to see, babies to kiss, and all that good stuff. So I think I'm gonna let you go when we transition on over to Dynamite. Is that all right with you?
that is totally fine with me. It gives me time to get another drink and switch my shirt. So
hey, why don't you tell the listeners what's going on with the Wrestling Junkies coming up?
yes, make sure to follow us at Junkies Pod on X. Follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Junkies Pod. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Use promo code WJP2024 for 25% off site wide at GorillaPressApparel.BigCartel.com. They do take commissions if you're a wrestler, referee, manager, promoter. You need merch for those tables. You name it, they can do it. Kevin McElvey, editor-in-chief of PWI 500, joining us next week, as well as Connor Hopkins. And if Sid Bacabella is, actually has the balls to show up, then he might. So anyway, enjoy wrestling. Have fun. It's fine. Yeah, running through all the plugs. That's all of it. Podcast Dad's a horse's ass. I'll see him at 9 o'clock. Yeah. All right.
That's his
I'll see you guys
father.
later.
That's my dad.
You called yourself
I
a
did.
full-time part-timer name, so you don't. No. You
I
don't
did
get
this
to
about
have
my
it.
dad.
You
No.
don't get.
He made fun of my football team. That wasn't nice.
You can't have it both ways. I know a thing or two about swinging both ways, so it doesn't apply here. So anyway, gentlemen, have fun, be safe, enjoy the night. Wrestling Spotlight, check me out there. Download the True TV Plus app. Have a good night, gentlemen.
See you, man. It's always a pleasure. Always
Legend.
good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know we put them over every single week, but seriously, two of the best guys out there. Yeah. That's why they're part of the main event gang. So if you want to be a part of these vibes, just reach out to one of us and follow us at mainevent_net. Ian, we still got a lot of things to at least touch on. I want to wrap it up kind of quick because there is football going on. So let's run on over to Dynamite here, where Ricochet had his first Dynamite win in a matchup against Sammy Guevara, which is probably what happened was what you were probably expecting going into it. But I thought overall, good start for Ricochet, fun stuff. What about you?
Yeah, it was fun, and I kind of like the climb that Guevara is kind of making right now. I don't like how he is an ROH Trios champion. Still, I liked the Trios championship win that Dustin and him and I don't know the third.
Yeah. I was gonna say we don't even know who their third is. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's tough. But anyway, that's kind of what kind of draws me away from Guevara. But I like that the climb that he's kind of making right now. He's on his own, which is exactly what the reason that people were starting to fall away from Guevara was. Always in a faction or always around Ty Conti. Which Ty, I hope she can make it back.
I would want to be around Ty Conti too.
I mean, for the fans, it was. It felt weird. It felt icky.
I don't think people like seeing real life shit on TV. I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah,
especially when Guevara had proposed to his girlfriend on TV, and then that's another topic, whatever. But
that wasn't good.
I know. I try to keep myself away from the Guevara real life stuff, but he's a damn good wrestler, and I I really hope that this sends him onto a path of greater things. Maybe that TNT title. We know he's arguably one of the greatest TNT championship holders. I mean, he's held it 3 times.
I put
on paper.
Cody Rhodes is there. Brody Lee is there. I think Brody Lee's obviously going to be number 1 for me. I can't really think of anybody after that because they kind of hot potatoed that title a lot. But
Darby.
My question really, Darby would probably be the right answer. Good call. My question for you is this basically what we're going to get out of Ricochet, you think, in AEW? He's kind of just going to be that good match guy? Or do you think he actually could be a main event contender?
I touched on this last week. I'm glad you asked because I touched on this last week. Every single WWE mainly or bigger wrestler coming in, that big profile, Tony Khan likes to have that Cinderella run of I want to see him against this guy. I want to see him against this guy. Ospreay had the same exact thing. I talked about that last week. Ospreay had the same thing. I mean, he was big, but it wasn't to the point of I can't wait to see where the story goes next. Ricochet's kind of in that spotlight right now. Build yourself up, build what your character and what Ricochet, the new Ricochet, is going to do in the ring and some of his promo work.
New Ricochet is
exactly, and that's my point. Is give it some more time, let him put on these amazing matches, and I'm okay with it. We're seeing very good matches. We're crossing off our own bucket list of who we want to see him face. So I don't know how long the contract's for. That's not disclosed. So it's going to get to the storytelling at some point. Obviously, you have the Ospreay situation. There's a backstage segment with, I believe it was Orange Cassidy and the rest of the conglomeration with Ricochet.
Chained
yeah.
into Jericho's car.
I don't think I was on the talking points, but that was very funny.
How about that Mark responding to me? That didn't even look like $20,000 or $7,000 worth of coins.
You got blocked. You lost, Kyle.
Yeah. He blocked me because, that's the point, brother. And don't be so soft, guys. I wasn't even being mean. I literally was just saying, no shit.
That's Twitter for you.
Orange Cassidy's gimmick. Buy the book. But nonetheless, touch on this. This is happening in a couple weeks. Darby accepted the challenge that Jon Moxley laid down for the number 1 contendership for that AEW World Heavyweight title. I think this is an obvious decision. I think Moxley's going to beat Darby here, and it's probably not smart for Darby to accept that, Ian.
Yeah, this is the one kind of... I wouldn't say it was a letdown for the show, but the segment kind of felt weird. I don't know. I can't explain why it did.
Yes.
Yeah, it just...
He earned it.
I get that point of why Darby would say yes, because it's Darby Allin and he's a psychopath. He wants to climb Mount Everest. That's still in the back of my mind. I completely accept Darby's character of dude literally can't say no, and his quick reaction time and what he wants to do right then and there, he's going to go for it. Yeah, the Great Brown Hope. Oh yes, there will be blood. There will be.
if they bleed for the BCC at Grand Slam the following week, stay tuned.
My biggest concern with this is bringing Darby back into it, and you showed Sting back on Dynamite a couple weeks ago. If you get Sting involved back in it with Darby,
he ain't getting involved.
If they do it, if Tony Khan, the crazy maniac, does it, you're gonna want to see Sting back in the ring. I mean, that's just hinting at it again. Which again, Really? Well, I don't either. But you want to see where that would go because I don't know. This could either be a very big boost for Darby's reputation or it could be a letdown, just depending on how the story goes. The match is going to be pretty good. I don't think we're expecting too much.
It's going to be brutal. I mean, that's what it's going to be at the end of the day. And maybe what the Great Brown Hope's saying could happen as well. He said there will be no winner, ends in a draw when they both pass out at the same time for losing too much blood. I don't know if that would set up a triple threat or maybe it sets up a rematch on Dynamite because they would still have a couple weeks to build to Wrestle Dream. But I think me and you are on the same page thinking that Wrestle Dream is probably going to be the final time we see Danielson, right?
Yeah.
It's in his hometown.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. And it's kind of like the Sting situation. Yeah, it's kind of like the Sting situation where it's, he's going to be done after that. It wasn't a loss after he retired, but this is a different situation where he could pass that torch, and who they're going to do it to, I don't know. They haven't really hinted at that final boss yet, but you can make just guesses at this point.
Time will tell with that one, Ian, but we do know, or at least we think we know, we are getting a matchup that a lot of people speculated about, a lot of people wanted to get once Nigel returned at All In. Apparently, Nigel versus Danielson is happening at Grand Slam as of today. I mean, I say that because something tells me there could be a little swerve here, because Nigel just coming out there and announcing that he is getting that opportunity kind of missed the mark for me, just because, like, what did Nigel do to earn that opportunity? But at the same time, you're just giving people a dream match that goes back 2 decades from, present time. So I see why people are excited. I'm excited. I am looking forward to that match, but I don't know, man. I'm not sold that it's happening yet. Maybe I'm just being weird. I don't know how you feel about all of it.
I think you're kind of being weird because it's one of those Tony Khan wants to play with his action figures and the fans are going to enjoy it kind of moments, and you're going to want to sell those tickets for Grand Slam. Also, the Great Brown Hope says, or he wins and Christian cashes in when he lets his guard down while celebrating. If Bryan Danielson loses, he's done. He said that. Once he drops the title, he's done.
Yeah.
So you just got to remember that.
Dynamite.
You got to remember that.
It's just a normal week. Grand
Correct.
Slam is just Dynamite. You're not going to... That's another critique I have. Why don't you do Nigel versus Danielson at a pay-per-view? Wouldn't you want to capitalize on all that buzz and get pay-per-view buys?
Yeah, I get that. Grand Slam, the arena is huge. It's a massive arena. They could open up seats. They've closed off seats before for it. I forgot what the place is called, but it's one of those giant tennis arenas that they always use for the Open. So they have the seats to sell. Arthur Ashe, duh. Yeah, duh.
Sorry, I was reading his comment when you were talking.
No, you're fine. I hope it's not this situation I'm about to describe. I wonder if this was kind of a shock for the reception that Nigel got coming back into it. Because it kind of feels, like you said, it kind of feels thrown together.
I mean, they've been planting the seeds. Like, Nigel has been ripping Danielson on commentary for the past 3 years. I think, like, eat, sleep, rip on Danielson. That was Nigel's commentary right there. But, I mean, I didn't get to experience their rivalry, I guess I should say, in the past. But I know about it. We're all aware of it. We know the history between these two. And that brings up another point, and maybe they're going to get to that next week. I think they should have given us a little backstory on it. Maybe run a video package between Nigel and Danielson. And once again, they got time to do that. They could do that on Collision if they want to. But then again, who's watching Collision? Because I think they pulled 125 last weekend. 125,000.
That's Saturday. That Saturday.
We almost bought tickets.
Yeah.
It was a Friday show.
Oh, that's right. It was a Friday show.
And it was SmackDown's finale on Fox. So that might have a lot to do with it as well.
There's just not a lot of open slots left. I mean, WWE is still a juggernaut. They got Wednesday, and they stole Wednesday.
They better not take Thursday from us, because then when are we going to record?
Yeah, that's a very great point.
Oh, no,
It'd be a live reaction.
That on the Masked Man show. They were like, now that USA has SmackDown, they could essentially move to another night. I was like, I don't want anybody to move from Friday. I like where we're at. We get a nice window right here on a Thursday. Selfishly.
Yeah, the OTM Thursdays might have a little shakeup, but we'll see.
What would we do in that situation? That would not be good.
Record at 12 p.m.
Here we go, Midnight Pod. Who's in?
12
No
a.m.
one. Real quick, let's run through these matches that were announced this past week on Monday Night Raw. 3 matches already that we know are going to be happening at Bad Blood. And this one, Ian, we've been speculating this one for probably 3 months now. We called our shot, and like Carmelo Hayes, we don't miss. We're getting it. It's going to be the main event of Bad Blood, no doubt about it. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. I think this is the perfect way to end this feud. I really don't have much to add other than I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well. And if they go, like the name suggests, for Bad Blood, with some blood, that could be interesting. I'm very excited for this one, obviously.
Like, their last match, I kind of liked it better than the SummerSlam match, which might be a hot take because it was a strap match. I just thought it was, there was a lot of good psychology being told in that strap match. This one and Hell in a Cell could be another matchup that we're talking about for Match of the Year candidate. Because a big thing with me, and I know you would probably agree with me as well, when you have a story behind a great match, similar to Hangman and Swerve, and it still delivers in ring, it elevates it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just basic wrestling right there. And I mean, even if they don't deliver too much in the ring, but we get the emotional storytelling during the match, that's even just as great.
Do you think this is the conclusion then?
For the time being, yes, he'll be back. I don't know who's going to win. I genuinely don't know who I'm going to predict.
Dude, I don't know either. I mean, right now, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm leaning towards CM Punk, just thinking that Punk might face Rollins at Mania next year. But, CM Punk could easily just win the Rumble, you know? Like, he could lose up until the Rumble and then win the Rumble, and that's how he gets that opportunity.
But at the same time, I'll play a little devil's advocate, which is actually kind of funny because my camera's red and yours is kind of blue. I did do that for Bad Blood. Thank you very much. But at the same time, Drew McIntyre is doing some of the best work of his career. Why not make him a mega, mega, mega heel? Not people that love to hate him, but like actually want to hate him.
Ooh, I tell you what, if Drew wins that Hell in the Cell match, you're going to have a lot of excited people online. Don't get me wrong, but you are going to get a lot of backlash from it. But regardless, it's going to get people talking. And I think that's a win-win for the WWE. And we know this match is probably going to deliver. We will save our official picks, though, when we talk about Bad Blood coming up in, I believe, 2 weeks' time. That'll be our next pay-per-view preview show. Other matches that we know are happening, but I don't think they have stipulations. Liv versus Rhea. That's going to be another tough one, Ian, because I could see somebody making a case for Liv to hold on to that title a little longer.
I don't know. This one, right? I don't feel as confident in this one.
They need a stipulation on this one. Like, I don't know if you want to do 2 Hell in a Cell matches at Bad Blood because that's a little overkill, but maybe just a street fight.
Extreme Rules.
Falls count anywhere.
Yeah.
Something like that. Last
something
standing.
Something that allows outside interference, because then I start believing the Liv retainment a little bit more.
Yeah. Great Brown Hope says that Drew wins Hell in a Cell with help from Gallus.
I'm just saying, the Drew win is making more sense to me, but I'm saving it.
But Gallus makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Great Brown Hope. We don't want to, show our cards quite yet. But Gallus with Drew McIntyre actually makes so much sense. So
yeah,
I would not hate that whatsoever. And then the last matchup that we know we are getting, Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Another blood feud, which is very perfect. They really set up this pay-per-view nicely, at least on the WWE calendar, that is, because it's flowing in perfectly to 3 of the hottest feuds in wrestling, and this is just the start of this feud right here. Ian, are you excited to see this one?
I am, because one thing pops into mind anytime Finn has a good one-on-one with a lot of build-up to it. It's the Demon King. I think he possibly could be coming back. He's got a new look to him, new faction.
They have
spice things up. Let's spice things up a little bit.
Oh, that don't bring me back, though, to WrestleMania 39, where they had Finn Balor come out as the Demon and lose to Edge, who ended up going to the competition, guys. What are we doing? God, I really wanted Finn to win that. I'm sorry, but I think Finn could win this one, too. Like the Great Brown Hope is saying, they just made this new Judgment Day a thing. So he's thinking they keep the belt on Liv for 1 more month, and then Rhea can maybe take it. And he also thinks Finn and JD are going to lose those tag belts. Maybe that's what sets up, or this match kind of is a domino effect, and then Finn loses tag titles to Damian Priest and Jey Uso or something like that.
Yeah, those tag titles are
not working.
No, they lost me, genuinely.
Both have kind of just been pushed to the side, which is disappointing because for the 2 top American promotions, tag division sucks. It's true. Sucks.
The tag
division, the talent that sucks. The booking sucks.
I was about to say the wording on it is a little tough. Tag division booking is pretty bad right now. Yes,
but apparently, Motor City Machine Guns and the Lucha Brothers are reporting to the PC very soon. A lot of people up in arms that the Motor City Machine Guns are starting in NXT. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think the main roster casuals know them that well.
No, they've heard the name before. Don't know their faces.
I'm going to give a yes, boy, to that comment. Great Brown Hope said they got to put the tag belts on Pretty Deadly already. I don't see Pretty Deadly defeating the Bloodline for those tag team titles, but I agree with the Great Brown Hope. I think Pretty Deadly definitely should get those tag belts very soon. But Ian, It's that time of the show where we give out the MVM of OTM. If you're not familiar with what that means, it is the most valuable mark, the person that is with us the entire ride, providing quality comments, questions, and just having a good time with us in the chat. Ian, I didn't even need to go to our private chat for this one. I know we are on the same page because we have an new MVM of the On the Mark Wrestling podcast. It is the Great Brown Hope.
He outcha. Yeah, I mean, he was just with it the entire episode, which was awesome, providing good comments, some reaction, some criticism to my ratings, but it's fine. I get it. I get a lot of criticism. No kind tonight, by the way.
Big AEW guy, I thought.
Yeah, huge AEW guy, I thought, but...
Isn't he a Mariah May Mark now?
Huge Mariah May Mark, yeah.
Is it just because Kalani Jordan didn't follow him back?
Probably. That could be
That's
that.
probably what it is. It's out of spite. But yeah, shout out to the Great Brown Hope. I know he just got off of work, and the first thing he did was said, I'm tuning in to the On the Mark Wrestling podcast. That's why you are the four-time, Four Loco drinking, chugging MVM of the On the Mark Wrestling podcast, the Great Brown Hope. Ian, it was a very fun episode. We got through a lot here in a very short time, so it was a pleasure as always. But I did forget to talk about our WWE Shop affiliate. So if you have any plans of going to the WWE Shop and getting yourself some new merch, maybe you're going to Bad Blood, who knows? But you can go click that QR code in the corner there by Ian. All the proceeds that you purchase from the WWE Shop, we get a small portion of that, and it goes directly into the production of the show. You know what else does, Ian? They go to the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com.
Yes.
Tell them a little bit about what we have to offer at that website.
Yeah, we got the basics, and we got the basic, obviously, logo. You could represent the logo anywhere you would like to. We got some main event merch on there as well. That is currently where we're hosting. Currently where we are hosting the merch site. Once we get a little bit more, probably diving into other programs and more content creators' merch, if they start creating merch, wink, wink.
Yeah,
we could host it on the main event.
The Junkies got a banner on our site.
That is true. Yeah, once we start getting a little bit more into that, we can start opening the main event merch. So, little wink, wink. But also, you could get the Bryan Danielson shirt or the Honorary Mark shirt. There's a lot of #1 sellers on the website.
Boom. That's a lot easier for the WWE Shop if I just put that right smack dab in the middle. So, if you didn't get a chance to scan it, screw you. You'll figure it out.
Pause.
Just kidding, guys. I love you all. It was another very fun episode. It was a very nice episode, I should say, as I see we have 69 people watching right now.
Nice.
I will steal this from the Junkies since Mr. Cincinnati was on our show. Guys, if you just know one person that might be interested in this podcast, they're a fan of professional wrestling, please share this channel with them. Tell them to give us a like, subscribe. Just run these numbers up because, we love doing this. The interaction we get every single week, it truly is a joy, and we want to keep doing it. So it would only help us, right, Ian, if we can get some more subscribers. And we got a giveaway, don't we?
We have like 3 not giveaways, but like celebrations. We have a signed Rey Mysterio figure. Yes, it's not a scam. Like, it is a real thing. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Pod on the Mark, correct?
I believe so for all of them, yeah.
Okay. But literally look up On the Mark Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. You will find it. But yeah, I think it's 400 subscribers. We're giving away that signed Rey Mysterio figure, which if you want proof, we could get proof from our very own Jim Tucker, who owns that figure. Will be delivered to you.
I'll tell
for
you
free.
what, too, Ian, we are only 51 subscribers away. So it is very possible that we can get to 400 by the end of 2024. And we cannot do it without your help. But Ian, any final remarks before we sign off for episode 213?
No, great episode. We had a great guest. Thank you to Mr. Cincinnati. He always brings it and is on his 3rd podcast of the day. So shout out to him, a monster. But yeah, I'm excited to watch some football now and relax for the evening.
Yeah, so let's get to that. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling podcast.